There are numerous organizations and environmental societies who make the protection of whales throughout the world a priority. The Sea Shepherd Conservation Society focuses mainly on those whales residing in the Antarctic oceans. Animal Planet's television show Whale Wars allows viewers to witness the efforts of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, who claim to have hundreds of whales saved in the world's southern oceans as they attempt to eliminate whaling. However, the Sea Shepherd's use of controversial tactics often pose a threat to other people as well as themselves, which raises the question, is the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society the whale's savior or merely a self-righteous environmentalist organization? The Sea Shepherd Conservation Society attempts to save the whales in the Antarctic oceans with a high-risk, near-catastrophic mission strategies used by Captain Paul Watson, founder of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, rarely result in anything but a minor hindrance for the Japanese whalers. Whale Wars is a reality television show on the Animal Planet network that follows the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society aboard the Steve Irwin in the Atlantic Oceans as the Sea Shepherds attempt to eliminate Japanese whaling. Paul Watson, founder of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, was kicked out of Greenpeace in 1977 for aggressive tactics. Captain Watson began his own environmental organization called the Earth Force Society in 1977, and later created the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society that was formally incorporated into the United States in 1901 in the state of Oregon. The Sea Shepherd's mission statement, established in 1977, Sea Shepherd Conservation Society is an international non-profit marine wildlife conservation organization. Our mission is to end the destruction of habitat and slaughter of wildlife in the world's oceans in order to conserve and protect ecosystems and species. Sea Shepherd uses innovative direct actions to take action tactics to investigate, document, and take action when necessary to expose and confront illegal activities on the high seas. By safeguarding the biodiversity of our delicately balanced ocean ecosystems, Sea Shepherd works to ensure their survival for future generations. Because the Sea Shepherd's mission statement includes whales, they have made Japanese whaling in the southern oceans a priority. Aggressive tactics like scuttling and ramming ships have given the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society a reputation as eco-terrorists. You don't beg criminals to stop what they're doing, Mr. Watson said in the first episode last season. You intervene and you physically and aggressively shut them down. However, by abiding to sections 21 through 24 of the United Nations World Charter for Nature, as well as other international guidelines, the Sea Shepherds have avoided international punishment. The Sea Shepherd Conservation Society has support from many conservationists and has been established for nearly 30 years. The International Whaling Commission was created under the International Convention for the Regulation of Whaling, which was signed in Washington, D.C. on December 2, 1946, with the mission to supply the appropriate conservation of whale stocks and thus make possible the orderly development of the whaling industry. The 1982 moratorium on commercial whaling, which was instituted in 1986, is designed to ban commercial whaling until whale stocks of certain species of whales are plentiful enough for a catch limit to be more than zero. Issues and exceptions were made for Aboriginal peoples, but many nations, including the United States and the United Kingdom, are in accordance with the moratorium. The International Whaling Commission is not a private policing group, rather it is an agreement of nations to pause commercial whaling and protect whales until there are great enough numbers for commercial whaling to be done without eliminating species of whales. The Japanese whalers being harassed by the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society are represented in the Institute of Cetacean Research. The Institute of Cetacean Research represents an attempt to provide protection from organizations like the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society and nations who criticize them for their use of lethal whale research. The Institute of Cetacean Research is an organization in Japan that specializes in the biological and social sciences of whales. The purpose of Japan's whale research is to gather scientific data required to establish a management regime for the sustainable use of whale resources. Japanese whalers continue to work in the international waters of the southern oceans near Antarctica, which are considered International Whaling Commission whale sanctuaries. Because Japanese whalers are not commercial whalers, the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society accuses them, the Japanese whalers, of using a loophole regarding research whaling to whale commercially in the International Whaling Commission Antarctic Whale Sanctuary. In response to this accusation, the Institute of Cetacean Research says, research whaling is a fundamental right of every member of the IWC, according to Article 8 of the ICRW. Further, Article 8.2 requires that research byproducts, which is meat, be processed and sold under the government's direction. This is a legally binding obligation on all IWC members who undertake research. The Institute of Cetacean Research continues to defend the Japanese whaling in the Antarctic Whaling Sanctuary as research whaling, and therefore as legal whaling. The television show Whale Wars has sparked a great deal of controversy, and many writers have written reviews about the series. Richard Spillman is one of those writers. He believes Captain Paul Watson and his crew aboard their ship, the Steve Irwin, are merely vigilante eco-terrorists, policing the oceans for whalers and then doing nothing to stop them. Spillman reports that the Sea Shepherds on Whale Wars are abolitionist animal rights activists. On this basis, they justify aggressively interfering with and attempting to disable whaling ships in international waters, including pelting the ships with bottles of butyric acid, which recently injured 4 Japanese crew members. More seriously, they have taken to ramming Japanese whalers with their ship, the Steve Irwin. They deny this, but several videos of the Irwin ramming a whaler are widely available. Members of the Sea Shepherds have also boarded whalers at sea, and in one case, the Sea Shepherds interfered with search and rescue of a Japanese sailor washed overboard. The Sea Shepherds deny they interfered, but this is not the opinion of those conducting the search and rescue. Spillman also says the Sea Shepherds fly the Jolly Roger flag of piracy. I think that they should be more accurately described as eco-terrorists. Spillman believes that Captain Paul Watson and his crew do not make any significant differences in the whale deaths and continue to cite the World Wildlife Foundation by saying, the WWF estimates that 90% of non-natural whale deaths are due to collisions with ships followed by bycatch whales becoming caught in the nets, and then lastly by fishing. Clearly, Richard Spillman does not agree with the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society practices and believes that Whale Wars, while entertaining, is nothing more than vigilante glorification. Another article written about Whale Wars by Gene Williams provides a preview of the 2nd season. Williams gives a brief background of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society's purpose, as well as reasons for the Sea Shepherds opposing Japanese whaling. Williams says Watson and his organization believe that killing whales in the Southern Ocean Whale Sanctuary is illegal, even if minke whales are not considered endangered. Williams also states that, as the smallest rorquals, minkes were the last to be exploited by whalers when the larger animals had been reduced to a level where they were no longer able to profitably be exploited. So the minkes were targeted as a species of last choice. Estimates have placed the minke population in the southern hemisphere in the range of 200,000 to 416,700 whales. Williams quotes Captain Watson as saying, "We've saved 500 whales the year before, 500 whales the year before that, and 83 whales the year before that. Williams provides an accurate description of the Whale Wars series and of the Sea Shepherd's goals. In conclusion, the Whale Wars issue regarding legal or illegal Japanese whaling in the Antarctic seas and the legal or illegal actions of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society to stop the Japanese whaling provides a two-sided debate. With both groups, the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society and the Institute of Cetacean Research, using the International Whaling Commission's rules to their own advantage, there is no clear right or wrong. After thoroughly researching Antarctic whaling from the viewpoint of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society and the Institute of Cetacean Research, I believe that the Japanese whalers are whaling legally and without any violation of the International Whaling Commission's 1982 commercial whaling moratorium. I agree with Richard Spillman's position on whale wars and believe that not only are Captain Paul Watson's tactics aggressive and dangerous, but they are illegal as well. Ramming a ship in international waters off the coast of Antarctica is in no way defensible. Paul Watson's passion for conservation in whales has clouded his judgment and caused him to disregard human lives, not only those of the Japanese whalers, but the lives of his own crew. Illegal whaling is wrong, but the Japanese whalers are working within the restrictions of international law by whaling for a limited quota of minke, which are not endangered, and fin whales for research purposes, and therefore are undeserving of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society's harassment.